KPCA, LP, Petaluma, California. Wow, wait a minute. What's that nice music?
It's called Industrial Ferret, Matt.
And you know, Jim?
What?
This must be Two Mooks and a Mic with new tunes.
It must be Friday after Thanksgiving. It's Black Friday.
That's right.
Happy Black Friday to you, Matt McGuire.
Thank you. Same to you, Jim Thomas, co-mook
yeah.
of Two Mooks and a Mic.
Yeah, and welcome, everybody. Yeah. I'm glad you made it. I hope you... Matt, man, my stomach is still bursting. I hope you didn't eat as much as I did. You know, I had to undo my belt and the top button in my pants. It was just, otherwise it would have just been like a blimp.
Oh, man, yeah.
Awful. But really good food.
That was fun. I mean, thank you for being our guest.
Thank you for being
together.
for having us as your guest.
The turkey came out great.
It actually was done.
All you folks that have tuned in had an equally delightful Thanksgiving.
Maybe
and
a tofurkey.
Gratifying and
I hope you did.
And
I hope you're not shopping right now, or if you are, you're doing it safely.
Yeah, well, you know, better to boycott Black Friday shopping, you know.
Oh, really?
Well, if you do shop local. Don't shop online.
No, yeah, that's right. Shop local, please.
But, you know, I mean, there's much to be thankful. I mean, once again, we always recognize our fortune for being in this part of the world.
Yes.
Having the friends and family in good shape that we have.
And the fire's out.
The fire's out. The rain is falling from the sky.
The rain is falling from the sky. Things are starting to green up. It's pretty nice.
Feels good, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. I just really, my heart aches for the people of paradise.
Yeah.
Is it pleasure?
Well, Donald Trump came to visit, you know, and you see the pictures of Gavin Newsom and Governor Brown standing there. All the photos of him gathering around with officials, everybody's kind of standing away from Trump.
And staring off in the spaces, not making eye contact.
And Trump is sitting there waving his hands around like, you know,
raking the forest.
Yeah, and talking about, he calls Paradise the town pleasure. He does it about three times.
Yes, that's right.
Like, excuse me, Mr. President.
And Stephen Colbert made a joke saying that the Paradise is the name of the woman and pleasure is where she works, which is why Trump would say that, probably, right?
Yeah, his mind was in the gutter.
Hashtag me too, man.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well,
keep it up.
I mean, you know, the guy was just spewing inanities and stupidities as usual. I mean, he doesn't know a thing about what he's talking about. Well, you know, raking the forest. You got to take care of the floor. I mean, he saw one little clip on Fox where firefighters were raking up shrubs in the, you know, that were burning.
Yeah, right.
You know,
and he says that's what they should be doing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the guy, you know, who would take advice from a guy who went bankrupt 7 times?
Oh, yeah,
you know?
That's right. He's not exactly a good businessman, and maybe we'll find out about it when the Democrats gain control. They start subpoenaing maybe his income tax returns.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, I think I mentioned last week that there's like a 1924 law that says the head of the tax writing committee has the right to get a hold of any citizen's tax returns,
really,
and make them public.
And of course, he's not above the law, even though his daughter thinks she is.
Exactly.
But you know what? Another thing that Trump is complaining about is that California is mismanaging their forests. But it turns out that this is the editorial from the Sacramento Bee newspaper. It says, no, Mr. President, the state's forest management didn't cause those fires. The Camp Fire started near Plumas National Forest, which, like 60% of California's forests, are not managed by the state. So it's the feds.
That's right.
And while the Woolsey Fire began nowhere near a forest, that's down south, Trump's scolding acts as an accelerant on the broken hearts of our burning state. Isn't that the truth?
Oh, man.
So our heart goes out to those people who are living in tents. People
who are now suffering in the rain, although, you know.
People are pouring out to help. They gave them a nice Thanksgiving. They're donating a lot of stuff. In fact, I think the Red Cross is saying no more donations.
Oh, really?
We have enough already.
Yeah, I think they're saying just send money.
Send money. Yeah,
exactly. Well, you know, Trump is up to a study recently by the Toronto Star's Washington, D.C. correspondent who's been doing some studies on Trump. Just before the election, he's up to 26 lies a day.
26, unbelievable.
This guy,
wow.
Yeah, so his name is Daniel Dale, and he's been the D.C. correspondent for the Star, and he's been tracking and refuting Trump's lies since September 2016. And he says it's not that hard because Trump just keeps telling the same lies over and over again.
And he just spews whatever he wants.
Yeah. And so this guy Dale listens and reads, listens to every speech, rally, and transcripts, and he says said in 2017, Trump was averaging 3 lies a day.
That's pretty bad, even with 3.
Yeah, for a president of the United States.
That's right.
So-called. And then in 2018, this year, he actually went up to 9.
Wow.
But just in like the month leading up to the midterms, he hit 26 a day.
Well, Matt, it's good that
he says he's the best.
Yeah, he's the best at lying. The press I'm delighted to say that they're labeling them as lies instead of misspoke
or it's about time.
Or fabrication or something like that. So lie is a lie is a lie.
That's right. He says, Dale says
Pants
that there's typically 20 to 30 lies per rally speech.
Unbelievable.
And, but his point is valid too, Jim, because even though they are saying in some headlines that they are lies, he's saying the mainstream media is not doing enough to point them out. And that, Trump knows that he can just throw it out there. And some of the news media will just repeat it without, doing the
no editorializing,
no refutation, no comparison to reality.
Well,
right?
Matt, wasn't it Reagan who was the Teflon president? Wasn't that one of his labels?
Yeah, exactly.
So now it seems like Trump is. No matter what happens.
And once again, this is corporate media. Corporate media has a stake in the game to maintain the status quo. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and a lot of them, Fox News, of course, but
that's right.
So they are willing to be the the megaphone for that.
Reporting.
But so right now 2/3 of voters see Trump as untrustworthy.
Yep.
Which is the same as when he was elected, and yet some of those people that saw him as untrustworthy actually voted for him.
Yeah, I don't get that.
But I say thanks to Dan Dale for pointing out that facts really do matter.
DD.
Yeah, and
they do matter.
He's refuting the lies.
And what's coming more and more, I think people are getting a little bit more emboldened, I hope.
Yeah, let's hope.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Well, and, so Trump finally submitted written answers to Robert Mueller's investigation questions regarding, Russian interference in the election.
Which he said, I wrote by myself. I wrote them all myself. So the lawyers, because people said, did you write them? Yeah, I wrote them myself. In other words, the lawyers didn't write it. But he was extremely, they all were vetted.
Well, they had to be. I mean, otherwise,
sure.
They'd be frog marching him out of the White House in irons right now.
Please,
isn't that a lovely thought?
That's a lovely thought. Even the day of Black Friday.
And so Mueller actually may still try to subpoena him for in-person questioning because you can only imagine what he wrote in his answers,
Well, yeah, and another theory I heard was that Mueller's asking him these questions. It really doesn't mean anything, whatever he says. It's basically just to kind of keep the ball rolling, or almost playing a Trump thing where you say, look over here, answer these questions, where I'm actually investigating over on this side.
Well, yeah.
So that's kind of nice, too. I mean, the answers to his questions, they're all going to be lies, even though by answering these questions, he has to do it under oath, right?
Although, if he wrote them himself, I could see, see Dick, see Jane, see Spot run.
I'm surprised those are actually complete sentences. I don't think you'd even do that.
You might be right about that, Jim. Well, one of the delightful little news stories of the week, of course, is Ivanka Trump.
Oh, lock her up,
lock her up, baby.
Really?
Lock her up.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
what's the skinny on that?
The skinny
Matt?
on that is that she was using her private email account, for like a year to send hundreds of government emails to cabinet heads and White House aides,
but
and
nobody
things.
told me.
Yes,
I didn't know.
Yeah, the White House aides were shocked at the number of them.
Wow,
because it's like she's going. What was her quote? I'm not familiar with some details of the rules.
I didn't know that. Yeah. Is that
but
wrong?
I'm Ivanka. I'm a Trump.
Aren't I entitled to? I have a lot of money.
My daddy's president.
I just can't wait for the Democrats to get in power.
It was Austin Evers, who's the executive director of a nonprofit called American Oversight.
Okay.
It's a liberal, watchdog agency, nonprofit. And he requested the documents that turned up these emails.
Oh, good on him.
And he says that, there's obvious hypocrisy that her father ran on the misuse of personal email as a central tenet of his campaign.
That's right.
There's no reasonable suggestion that she didn't know better.
Oh, of course she did.
Clearly,
just didn't care.
Everyone joining the Trump administration should have been on high alert about personal email
Absolutely.
use. Hello.
Yes. I know. Even I know not to use my personal email for anything.
Really? I mean, come on.
Wait a minute. That's all I have is my personal email.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
If I were in public office, that's what I do.
Well, but then Trump, the guy continues, like we were saying just before the show.
Yeah.
He seems to get worse and worse and worse.
I think he's unraveling. I think he's really...
He could be. Yeah. He apparently tried to get his White House counsel, Donald McGahn, who, is gone. One of McGahn's goals was to get Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court, and so he succeeded in that dirty SOB.
Yeah,
but when McGahn was White House counsel, Trump tried to get him to order the Department of Justice to prosecute Hillary Clinton and James Comey.
Oh, you can't do that. It's not like your personal Department of Justice.
Can't. And McGahn said that. You don't have that authority.
You can't kind of do that.
That's right. He said, but, he did say you can request to have him, to get a special prosecutor. But he said that's likely to prompt accusations of abuse of power, and you could face a range of consequences, including possible impeachment.
Only one of many.
Yeah, but here's a really right wing lawyer working in the White House in the Trump administration going, you can't go there. Even a guy like that is going, that's way out of line. But he still is talking to people about he wants to see a special prosecutor go after Clinton and Comey.
So he still wants to do that.
He does. And he has not a shred of evidence. He keeps saying that Comey has released sensitive government documents, and that's already been reviewed by everybody who said that's not true.
And rebuked, right.
Yeah, exactly.
But Trump he believes, I think, if you repeat it enough, it'll become true.
Well, if you whine long enough.
Whine long enough.
Baby will get fed.
I tried that with my wife, and it never works.
Yeah, well, that's because we run around with grown-ups.
And smart women.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Who would never be caught dead in the Trump White House. But, so now he's got acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker, who's like a total back alley thug. And, he's telling him he wants a prosecutor to investigate both of them. And just he just has no proof. So
and even the Republicans now in the House are they're summoning Comey to come in under closed door session to interrogate him
for testimony.
That's right. And Comey is saying, I'm resisting it. I want to have it be open door. And if he waits long enough, which is only until January when the new Congress, House of Representatives, comes in, then perhaps it'll just go away. Or if he does, bring him on. Let's make it be open.
Flip it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. That's right. Well, so, and apparently McGahn wrote a memo to Trump saying, why it was such a terrible idea, but nobody knows if he read it.
Yeah. Well, if it didn't have pictures, he wouldn't have.
Exactly.
Pictures and diagrams. Yeah, this Whitaker guy, he's too much. Benjamin Wittes from the Atlantic magazine, Atlantic.com, says, even if Whitaker did fire Mueller, which is what Trump apparently, everybody says that's why he got Whitaker on board, the House Democrats would simply invite Whitaker in January to share his findings in a public hearing. Public hearing, Matt, that's the key.
Yeah.
If Trump really did appoint Whitaker to protect him from Mueller, it's probably too late for him to do that. So Mueller's probably in good, and that Mueller is smart enough, at least that's what everybody says, that if he is stopped, you're right, it's like an octopus. He has a lot of tentacles out there with the investigations going on. So if he's removed, it'll still go on.
It is kind of scary because some of the background, plan Bs that Mueller's put in place is to share information with state prosecutors. But, now Trump is claiming that,
the feds have jurisdiction over the state.
That he could overrule that, and that's going to be a constitutional question, which could go to the Supreme Court, which he's got packed. Right. So there's real danger. This is the potential free fall that the Kavanaugh appointment has created here. But Whitaker is this guy is like a sleazebag creep. I mean, here's a couple things, Jim. He was paid $1.2 million as the executive director of a right-wing nonprofit that had no other employees.
Yes.
He got paid between 2014 and 2017, and it was called FACT. It's like the Foundation for Accountability and Civil Trust. Right now, so whose mission is to it's a watchdog group dedicated to exposing unethical conduct by public officials.
Hey.
Well, so a study by the I think it was the Washington Post. I'm not sure. Okay. They showed that out of they looked at TV and radio appearances, and there were like 37 complaints against Republicans and 750 plus against the Democrats, mostly Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, of course, lock her up.
So he becomes the head of this right-wing nonprofit, gets paraded around on Fox News and all the right-wing shows, and even CNN has paid him as a commentator, which is disgusting.
Wow, not anymore, I bet.
Yeah, but the group actually was
dark money group.
Funded, it was funded by dark money from a group called Donors Trust, which is, people believe is like Koch brothers
but
money.
We will never know because it's all hidden.
Yeah, exactly. And they gave him $600,000 to get started.
Wow. We're in the wrong business, man.
Yeah, and Donors Trust is like a seed organization to give money to right-wing foundations while masking its sources.
Yeah. Okay.
But so the originally they were under a different name, and then they changed it and changed their mission statement. It was like, it was going to be, let's see. They said originally they said they were going to study the impacts of environmental regulations on business because poor little businesses.
Poor little business. Yeah, they need to pollute more.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. And also, Whitaker, before he joined the Trump administration, he sat on the advisory board of the World Patent Marketing, a Florida firm that charged inventors millions of dollars for non-existent marketing services.
Right, exactly.
Right. So, and when people complained about being ripped off, Whitaker wrote to unhappy customers, identifying himself as a former U.S. attorney and warning of serious civil and criminal consequences. So he basically threatened them.
Yeah. And
nice guy.
Throwing around his weight as a former federal prosecutor to scare people off.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, in this FACT group, it was like no other employees, and in fact, one of the board members said he never agreed to be on the board.
Whoa!
And it's located on a K Street virtual address,
which is the lobbying street,
exactly in D.C.
In D.C.
And it's there with 200 other right-wing organizations.
That's a really
so the IRS
mailbox.
Never gave the okay for the mission's name, for the mission change or the name change of the organization.
Oh, great! So they're breaking the law.
The guys lied, from the get-go.
Well, it's
and now,
perfect for Trump to appoint him.
Yeah, he found a thug who's got no morals, who will do his bidding.
Right, and plus it's probably unconstitutional that he was appointed because
exactly.
The reform,
never got a Senate approval.
Federal Vacancies Reform Act, but they're using that explicitly allows officers not confirmed by the Senate to serve if their term is less than 210 days.
That's right.
So they're going to put him in and see what he can do really quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, some people say the Democrats in Maryland and in another state are suing to say that you can't even do that for the 210 days.
I like that. No, you're right. It has to be approved by the Senate. Yeah. So there we go.
Well, and so Trump just keeps batting 1,000. It's like he's now sticking by the Saudi Arabians.
Oh my God!
In the murder of Khashoggi,
it's terrible.
It's just our intelligence community says, hey, it's blatantly obvious that took place in Mohammed bin Salman. The crown prince had to approve
direct
it.
line, right?
Yeah, and
evidence.
If he hadn't, he had to know about it. He had to prove it, and then so Trump is going, our relationship is with Saudi Arabia.
They buy so many arms from us, and we need their oil.
Yeah.
But you were talking earlier that's not really true. I mean, yes, they do buy our arms, and we buy their oil, but that's what they need us more than we need them.
Exactly. Well, he's saying, Trump claims that if we don't sell the $110 billion worth of jets and armaments to the Saudis, that the Chinese and the Russians will swoop right in and get that business. Well, all the experts are saying, no, that's not true, because they've been buying American military systems for so long that those are things that the Chinese and the Russians can't replace.
There we go. It's kind of like if you have an Apple computer, you won't go to PC because you're used to the Apple operating system or vice versa.
You can't replace parts with the other.
Right.
And, he's also saying that there's $380 billion worth of investment that the Saudis have promised that's at risk. And all the economic and military experts are just laughing. They're going, those numbers are almost completely made up out of thin air.
It sounds like what it is Trump is worried that the Saudis won't invest in his properties.
Yeah, well, he's been the, how much has he made from them? I mean, along with the Russians.
And along with the Russians.
And all that money laundering he's done for the last 25 years.
Yeah, that's right. So you kill the golden goose.
Yeah, but, one of the really, sad things about the whole thing is that, he goes, we're buddies with Saudi Arabia. It doesn't matter. They murdered an innocent journalist.
Right.
What, the more established, settled establishment in Washington has been trying to do is trying to get Saudi Arabia to curtail its mass murder and slaughter in Yemen. This is a huge humanitarian
no kidding.
crime against
85,000 children have starved to death.
85,000
children.
Unbelievable. And then rampant diseases, and everything. And, they're making it almost impossible for the Red Cross and Red Crescent
or the White Helmets, any of that.
And so, in his tweet, by supporting the position to stick in with Saudi Arabia, he's basically given up leverage to get Saudi Arabia to back off bombing and, destroying Yemen.
And he's also basically telling other dictatorships around the world, hey, if you give us money and you buy our products, we'll look the other way.
It's carte blanche.
Right. We won't do anything.
But he's been saying that for 2 years, so no surprise.
Oh, my gosh. This is like a nightmare we're not waking up from.
Well, but on the good side, Jim, now the
please.
Democrats are taking over the House. And one of them, one of the permutations of that is that Democrat Jerry Nadler of New York is expected to chair the House Judiciary Committee.
All right.
And
Tell us about him.
He has already put the Trump administration on notice that he wants answers to the questions the Democrats have been asking for the last year or so that have been stonewalled.
Yeah.
Like, he wants to know the details on Trump's immigration family separation policy.
Please, that would be great.
He wants to, he wants to know, the status of separated kids and their parents, where they are, how, what's the long-term damage to them. I mean, we know that they're housing thousands of kids in tents down on the Texas border,
concentration
going
tents.
into the winter.
Yeah.
There's no schooling going on there. There's, it's just crowd control, right?
Yeah.
And so he's And Nadler's one of the Congress people that was blocked by ICE that went down to Texas.
There's a
to
video
see
of
families.
that. That's right. And he took a camera crew to try to get in, and they said no.
Yeah, he goes, I'm a U.S. congressman. Let me in. And they said no. And to me, that's just an outrage that a representative of the people could be stonewalled.
But this
like
also
that.
is ICE, and they defied President Obama when he tried to stand them down or get rid of some of their numbers, and they basically just ignored him.
Yeah, it's kind of like, the prison guards union. They become a huge political force. They have a huge billions and billions of dollar budget.
Yeah, it's almost like it probably is. You could say it's a rogue police state.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and are they going to just listen to a mere congressman?
Right. Not even a senator, but a congressman.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I mean, this is going to be the shoe's going to be on the other foot.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So, Matt, if you went to Colorado State University, they have asked their students to stop using the phrase or the greeting "long time no see." You can't use that anymore because it may offend Asian Americans. Linguists say the phrase may derive from either Native American dialects or from Mandarin. So there's a student there who says administrators told her such non-inclusive language was to be avoided because even if the world isn't good, you should be good.
Where I don't get this one though.
You're not supposed to
long time
no see because they say it derives it's derogatory. It comes from either Native American. It sounds
but what if it came from English? It's like, hey, it's been a long time since I've seen you.
Oh yeah, you can say that, but
it's more pidgin English because it's no see instead
I guess
of haven't
you can't say
seen
what's up, Kemosabe. You can't say that either. Not so good.
Yeah, this is getting parsing it down into the weeds.
I'm going to say it all the time now, and claim I'm Native. No, I'm not. I'm not Native American. I'm Irish, I'm not even Irish. I'm Scottish and Welsh.
You're a mutt.
I am a mutt.
Like me.
Somebody jumped over the fence in my past.
Jumped over the fence. Coming or going?
Either way.
A little of both.
A little of both. Both ways.
Oh, my
That's
God.
Right,
We're getting deep into Jim's history.
No, we don't want to talk about that anymore. Or forget that.
Really? Oh, my
well,
God.
so, Matt, if you go down to Florida, to Silver Spring State Park in Florida, beware because there are a bunch of monkeys there called the macaque monkeys.
Yeah.
And they actually are spreading herpes B. There's an epidemic among the monkeys, and it's spreading to humans because if you get the monkeys riled, they will fling their feces at you. And if they hit you, there's a chance that you could be infected by herpes B. That's the sound they make, or the sound you make after you get hit by monkey feces.
I don't know. I mean, are they locked up in cages? I might be flinging poo, too.
You already do, and you're not even in a cage. So there we go.
Metaphorically speaking.
That's
Let's
right.
just clarify that for our listeners.
I'm ducking right now. That's right. Okay.
Wait, we're talking monkeys, not ducks.
That's right. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's all that it's quacked up to be.
Oh.
There we go. Wow.
Okay, well, let's see.
Let's move on. Let's get serious here, man.
Yeah, let's get serious. We hate serious. Well, of course, Trump is furious at that so-called Obama judge who basically said...
From the Ninth Circuit.
So Trump, once again, a dictator for life, puts out a fiat.
Yeah.
He says, okay, so asylum seekers, only 10 or 15, 20% of them are ever granted asylum.
Yeah.
It takes years.
Right.
Well, they're abusing our system. So, it's categorically legal that says anybody that's in the country can apply for asylum. Doesn't matter how they get here.
Thank you.
So Trump is going, oh, no, we're going to say you have to come through a legal port of entry otherwise we're going to reject that. Courts immediately said,
no,
foul.
not going to do that.
You can't do that.
Right.
And so he's blaming this judge because he was an Obama appointee.
Oh my God!
And so, but it's interesting because a person as right-wing as Chief Justice John Roberts got up and said, hey, there are no Obama judges, Bush judges, Trump judges. They're all just judges who are doing their best to give, equal justice to all.
Due process under the law.
Yeah. Now, of course, Trump has insulted Roberts in the past because he voted in favor of saying that the Affordable Care Act was legal.
Right. It was the provision that everybody be charged.
Yeah. And that, so that got Trump's dander up. So he's been saying that, well, even when he ran in the election, Trump was going, my judges aren't going to be like that wimp Roberts.
Yeah.
It's like it's like he's not conservative enough. Well, but that's exactly what he's doing. He's appointing just rabid, foam at the mouth zealot
Kavanaugh,
right-wingers.
Right? And also a lot of these other judges who have no experience at all, they are rabid, foaming at the mouth right-wingers, and they get thrown off because they are really unqualified.
That's right.
Are we surprised?
Yeah, but and ultimately, once again, Trump is like going, he threatens to, we're going to win that case in the Supreme Court of the U.S. And unfortunately, with Kavanaugh on there's, that is
may happen.
But I take a little bit of hope in that.
What's that?
Well, in that, if he starts clashing swords with Roberts, that makes Roberts a little less, amenable to being his toady, like Kavanaugh certainly will, or Clarence Thomas, or Alito, or all those.
They might be just a little horrified by what Trump is doing. Also, there's a possibility, Matt, that Kavanaugh could be impeached. It's a possibility.
Boy, that would be delightful.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, but you'd have to take over the Senate.
That's right. Well, we have a little bit of time. If the blue wave keeps waving, start with the House of Representatives and go to the Senate. And
it's true. I mean, in 2 years, in the 2020 elections, there's a whole lot more Senate seats that Republicans are going to have to defend than this time around, which Democrats were having to defend.
Good. Well, we'll see what happens. I can't really think about 2020 yet. I read about it in the paper. The campaigning is starting already. It's just like,
really? God. Well, Trump.
It's like the wildfires. They're all 24/7, 365
Trump formed
days a year.
his re-election committee the day he was inaugurated.
And every rally he has is really campaign speeches.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just to his base, thank the good Lord.
Yeah, well.
So let's go across the pond a little bit, Matt.
Let's jump across the water,
This is in London, and this really, I read this and it really kind of frightened me. Multiple members of Britain's House of Lords, Parliament's upper chamber, have extensive financial links to Russia. Some have lobbied even on behalf of the Kremlin. There's a Lord Truscott. He's chairman of a Russian equity fund and once nominated President Russian Vladimir Putin for the Nobel Peace Prize. There's a few other lords. One is director of Rosneft, a Russian oil refining company.
Yeah, I think that's a big national Russian company.
Yeah, and has spoken against Russian sanction. Another one, but there is a conservative lawmaker named Bob Seeley. I guess he's Lord Bob Seeley, has called for a law requiring transparency. That's good. Saying peers lobbying in private in support of self-proclaimed adversarial power looks dreadful. And that's what the new House of Representatives, the Democrats coming in, they want to have the transparency, which is really good. So it's good. I mean, it's happened. There's a backlash against all this. The Russians seem to have their hands in almost everything, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, it behooves them because, of course, I mean, did they mess with our election? Yeah, absolutely. Did they have an impact? I believe they did. On the other hand, they have faced
and Brexit,
but they have faced European and U.S. aggression on their borders because going all the way back to World War II, when Stalin and Roosevelt had made a deal about how much who would get control of Poland and stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
But like NATO has continued to put armaments right on their border, nuclear weaponry, and that's really against international treaties.
Right, but Russia also has annexed several countries, right?
Crimea and the Ukraine,
right.
etc. So I mean, there's
really
been
illegal.
Belligerence and aggression on both sides. But what we need here is statesmanship. Do we have it in America?
No, I don't even think we have people who could be statesmen for that.
Well, I mean, you remember in the first year of Trump's administration, vast numbers of State Department experts,
En masse.
and ambassadors resigned en masse.
Absolutely.
Because they just said, this is a cluster.
Cluster F. And you know what, Matt? They have not been replaced.
That's right.
That's the thing. They just let them lay fallow.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got, so suddenly,
lie fallow.
Our fate is in the hands of people like Jim Mattis,
Holy cow, Mr. Hawk himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Mad Dog. His
yeah,
nickname is
exactly.
Mad Dog.
Well, one little bit of good news I saw recently was that Airbnb is no longer offering rentals in illegal Jewish-only settlements built on land stolen from the Palestinians in the West Bank.
Huh.
And that was, so here's the settlers, quote unquote settlers, which tend to be very rabid right wing, Israelis,
right,
are taking land from Palestinians, and of course they're known for things like pouring salt down Palestinians' wells and cutting down their olive groves and all this.
So
kind of
basically,
stuff. And they built their wall to make
sowing their
Bantu
fields
stands
with salt, like the Romans used to do.
All kinds of stuff like
it's
that.
Really terrible.
So people were going, well, listen, Airbnb, you shouldn't be offering places where there's this huge injustice going
you should
on.
Not do harm.
And so there was, petitions were circulated and pressure brought to bear, and Airbnb said, you know what, we are not going to be offering those anymore.
That's really nice to hear.
So that's a small step in the right direction.
Some consciousness. Yes, and you've heard of in Brazil they have a new president, Bolsonaro.
Very right wing.
Very extremely right wing. But you know what? He says he has spoke admirably of military dictatorship that ruled Brazil from 1964 to 1985. But the military told Brazilians not to worry about it. The armed forces, this is a quote, the armed forces follow the democratic constitution. Brazil will not turn into a fascist country. So that's hopeful that it won't.
Until they do.
Right, exactly. Until they do. What are you going to say to the president? No.
Well, Brazil has had military,
it has from 64 to 85.
Yeah,
so there we go.
It could happen again. But I mean, at least it's interesting because in a lot of Central and Southern American countries, it's the military that does have the greatest respect to the people because in enough instances, they are the more stable, less corrupt organization. That is not true in a lot of cases because in a lot of cases, the brass in the militaries are the ones who are quick to take advantage of their position for, smuggling, international investments, diversion of resources.
It's so easy to do that.
Yeah, because they've got the uniform and the medals on the chest.
And the guns. Thank you very much. Well, in Costa Rica, they had a coup many years ago, and a general took over, and he said to the people, I will only serve for X number of years, say 5 years.
Yeah.
And everybody went, yeah, sure. But after 5 years, he stepped down, and they have no standing army.
Yeah, and Costa Rica is one of the more successful stories in Central America, anywhere of that kind of transition.
That's
it's
right.
Still a very stable country.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Tourist destination. Yeah. You should go. Very nice.
Go see the macaques.
No, I don't know. Just duck.
No, if they're in the jungle, they're happier.
I don't know. They still might fling some stuff. So, Matt, in Holland, hello, Willem and Joyce. I hope you're listening. There's a positivity guru. They said that Willem and Joyce said they know of this guy. He's seeking to change his age from 69 to 49. He argues that he feels far younger than his years, kind of like me, Matt. He asked the court in Arnhem
that's only in behavior, Jim.
to shift his birthday from March 11th, 49 to March 11th, 69, saying that if people can change their gender, why can't I decide my own age? He claims to have the body and mind of a young god, kind of like you and me.
Yeah.
He believes a later birth date will help him find love on dating apps. If you're 69 on Tinder, you're outdated, he said. When I'm 49 with the face I have, I will be in a luxury position.
Oh, yeah. Well, he could lie about his age on Tinder, but, maybe he's too transparent and ethical to do that.
Oh, well,
being a guru.
Thanks.
But,
that's right. Well, he's a positivity guru.
If he's a positivity guru, why would your actual number of years matter?
It's what you feel inside, man.
Exactly.
That's right.
It's the persona you are, Come on.
Or the maturity level you aren't.
Yeah, exactly. This makes me question his maturity level.
Yeah.
You think this is the cause celeb we should take up as 2 Mooks and a mic? Yeah.
Yeah.
Take 20 years off that guy's life.
Well, we kind of act that way, so we're doing it already. But Willem and Joyce said they know this guy and they think he's a nut. So there we go.
He sounds like it.
He's kind of nutty.
Yeah. Well, maybe those macaque monkeys could be throwing rotten soybeans because this year's crop is like going to hell, really, in a big
handbasket,
yeah.
in a big basket. Oh, yeah. Why is that?
Well, because of Trump's trade war and the tariffs. So, the Chinese slapped a 25% tariff on the soybean imports.
That's 1/4.
Yeah. So, multi-billion dollar, business every year. The soybean farmers and certain other crops they've run out of place to store stuff.
So what they storage is the problem.
Well, not just because with some of the storage that they have put together, the beans are rotting in there anyway.
Because they got wet or something?
And vermin get in. There's a whole slew of problems. Okay. But the point is that normally in any annual year, the Chinese buy up about 60% of the soybean crop.
Sure. Well, soy's a big product for them.
Not this year.
Oh, because of the tariffs.
Well, because they're retaliating against the idiot tariffs, that Trump has put on them.
He's an idiot.
So, now, the USDA says they were going to give them like a bailout of $32 billion, which would mostly go to agribiz because these are big, giant,
So the small farmer?
Yeah,
Not
kiss
much.
off, buddy.
Yeah.
And, I've been reading that some of that money is ending up in the pockets of, like, corporate investors who haven't ever put on a pair of Oshkosh.
Are we surprised?
No, we're not surprised.
No,
but really, this is the impact. So, soybeans are an important crop, and it's important to the economy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is the results of Trump's tariff war, and so here's all these farmers and, agribiz companies, whatever, losing out on the billions because, Trump kicked China, and China kicked back.
I read somewhere that a farmer is saying, I just am plowing under my crop.
Yeah.
And he says, what can I do? I have no choice but to do this. And they're losing a lot of money, and they're not too happy with old Trumpy.
Yeah, no kidding. Right.
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't be. Right?
Wow. So, Matt, I don't know whether you've ever thought about plastic surgery. I certainly haven't.
Every time I look in the mirror.
Oh, Matt. But you need a new mirror. A Houston woman underwent $26,000 worth of cosmetic surgery in a bid to look like her idol, Ivanka Trump.
Eek.
She's 34.
You mean lock her up, Ivanka?
That's the one. She said she adores the beautiful, poised, classy president's daughter. She went she had 9 procedures at once. This is what she had: a nose job, a butt lift, whatever that is, a cheek augmentation to transform herself into Ivanka. But all her friends say, you don't look like her. But you know what? The irony is, despite her makeover, she said she remains politically liberal and is not a Trump fan at all.
Wait, I don't get that.
Well, if she were a Trump fan, she might have plastic surgery to look like Donald, which might be a problem.
Ooh, now that's
not
a pretty
so good,
scary thought, right? Well, let's see. Did we mention? I think I mentioned that the Trump administrations were. Well, we talked about the census, right?
Yeah. Did we? I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, so
I know we did before the show. Let's just do a real recap.
Okay.
So if any of our listeners forgot,
if we're repeating ourselves, just go hum to yourself.
It's because we ate too much food yesterday.
That's right.
It's the tryptophan.
We're tripping on tryptophan.
That's it. Yeah. Okay.
But the Trump administration wants to put a question on the next census that asks people if they're citizens or not.
Which is 2020.
2020.
Right.
And, it's clearly illegal, but they're trying to ram it down the throats. Courts so far have said, okay, well, it's being challenged, so we're going to hear the case. And Trump's trying to get the Supreme Court to throw it out. And everybody said, no, we're going to hear the case.
Yeah.
Right. So turns out that Trump administration officials have privately discussed sharing confidential census information in the future with law enforcement agencies.
Like ICE.
Like, what is the person's citizen status, right?
Which means that you fill that out, you could be deported.
Yeah, and there was
jailed.
Congress passed a law, Jim, in 1954 that says the data from the census cannot be shared with any other government agency or court.
That's good.
That's the law,
yeah,
right?
Good. Yeah.
And so here, now, Representative Jimmy Gomez, a Democrat from L.A., wrote to the Department of Justice and said to find out if they still agreed with a 2010 memo that the Department of Justice put out that said the Patriot Act could not override the confidentiality of the census. So DOJ said in 2010, even the Patriot Act cannot override the census confidentiality.
This is 2010.
2010.
Yeah.
Now, Gomez writes to the Justice and says, you still there? And they tap danced. They were like,
really?
We kind of, and then,
wow.
So they were trying to leave themselves the option open to be able to share that information with law enforcement in the future.
Sure, yeah.
So this is a good reason why the Democrats have taken over the House to try to, put some pressure on justice to, follow the law, for instance.
Yeah.
But, that's the fact that they want to do another clearly illegal.
Are you surprised? Here we go.
No, we're not.
I keep saying, are you surprised?
No.
But Matt, there was one more case. They were bringing it toward the judge, the Justice Department, for another delay, and the judge basically said, "You're just spinning my wheels. You're wasting time. I'm going to throw it out of court. There's no more delays." Because
which one was that on? Do you remember?
This is the same one
on
the
census.
Yes,
okay.
on the census. They said because if you delay it, they won't have time to print up the new ones for the next census. So that you need to cut bait or get off the pot.
Yeah.
However,
which pissed off the Trump administration because they want to railroad this through where they can get away with it before the courts can catch up.
And before the Democrats take control.
Exactly.
So they're trying to do as much as they can.
Yeah. Well, and this just shows that they're anything that you can imagine that's nefarious, underhanded, crooked, dirty dealing, cruel, vicious, and needless, the Trump administration is going to do it.
Wow. I never thought I'd live to see this devolve into such chaos. It's astounding.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So if you ever were going to go to a wedding, Matt, and you needed to buy a bridesmaid's dress.
I've had that trouble several times in the past.
I've heard. Well, now the average wedding in the U.S. now has 5 bridesmaids, up from 4 in 2007. Between travel expenses, dresses, and hair and makeup, a bridesmaid can expect to spend $1,200 per wedding.
Eek.
I'm not sure why that's important. I mean, it is if you're a bridesmaid and you don't have that much money and you can only wear the dress once, right? And they're usually pretty ugly.
Yeah, oftentimes, where are you going to wear that dog again? I did read recently that the whole bridesmaid, wedding industry is starting to take it in the chops.
Why is that?
Well, because it's so superfluous, I think, to a lot of people.
People not getting married or they're not having bridesmaids?
Well, I mean, maybe they're waiting later and they're not doing it quite so
these
fancy.
Millennials, what's up with them?
And maybe they're just tired of spending $1,200 every time their girlfriend gets married.
No, thank you. I mean, what if the marriage doesn't work? Then you got to go out and spend another $1,200.
I just heard of that happening recently. My friend,
I'm so sorry.
Sister's daughter got married this summer, and they're splitting up already.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Well, maybe they had to get married so they could get divorced.
Yeah. I guess maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, should we have a poll watch?
Yeah.
61% of Democrats think that Republicans are racist, bigoted, or sexist. That's 61%. And 54% say they are ignorant. 54% of Republicans believe Democrats are spiteful. 49, that's you and me. 49% think they are ignorant. That's not you and me. 31% of Americans say they'd be disappointed in a close family member who married someone with political views different from their own, including 41% of Democrats and 26% of Republicans. So if you're going to marry...
So it sounds like the 26% of the Republicans versus 41 of Democrats makes the Republicans more liberal because they're willing to have their child marry somebody with a different political stripe. But you know what, Jim? That's because deep down in their little monkey brains, they know they're wrong.
Throw the feces. There we go.
Toss the poo.
Toss the poo.
Fling the poo.
All right, there we go.
Well,
we've been out of the gutter again.
And, since we are a political show, I did want to mention, it does look like Nancy Pelosi is on the way to regaining the speakership. Now, I feel a little mixed about that.
I do too.
I mean,
but there are positives.
There's positives and negatives. Now, she's old. And she is a corporate...
Matt, please. She's aged and experienced.
Yeah, but she is old and getting older. And she's part of the more corporate-oriented Democratic leadership, which has been tone deaf, in the last, 5-10 years about what they should really be supporting and doing.
True. That's true. That's the negative.
Yeah. Now, and there's a new, a freshman crop of
very progressive
Congress people.
That's right.
Yeah, much more diverse, lots more women, all looking good. And a lot of them are saying, we need to change it up. But it's once again Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez who really puts her finger on the critical point. She goes,
she does.
If Nancy Pelosi is the most progressive candidate for the speakership, I support her.
Yes, good.
And so she's basically saying, if she's going to listen,
right,
I'm okay.
Which Nancy is, she's like the mastermind of how a consummate politician. She's an incredible fundraiser.
So people say.
She's an incredible fundraiser. She's the one that is responsible for pushing through Obamacare, all positive things.
And a real uphill battle, that one.
Yeah, no kidding. People go in with criticisms of her, and she has a meeting with them, and she's an incredible deal maker.
Yeah,
and
people like new Congress people.
That's right, and I can't think of the first woman's first name or last name is Fudge, who is opposing Nancy Pelosi. Pelosi pulled her in and made a deal with her, and Fudge said, "This is what we need." Nancy says, "Would you be in charge of that?" Fudge says, "Sure."
Yeah.
So now Fudge is supporting her. So
she's
smart.
And there was
that way.
That letter signed by I think 17.
That's right.
Freshmen. I think mostly freshmen or all freshmen.
Right.
Congress people, representatives,
That's
of
right.
which 13 were men,
That's right,
who
mostly
were
men.
saying, we won't support Pelosi.
Right.
But some of those people ran in, were middle-of-the-road Democrats were running against Pelosi because the Republicans were so critical
so
of
they
her.
kind of had to save their own skin.
Yeah. But again, she sat down with someone, she's addressing their issues, and one of them has already said, no, I've changed my mind. But the important thing here is I hope that she follows through with her statement that she said she would like to be a transitional figure.
An interim, right. That's exactly right.
Yeah,
so in 2 years, then she'll step down.
Yeah, because if she said, she's what, 80 or something?
79, I think.
I think it's 80, but
really?
I think, and Steny Hoyer's what,
inside
79.
she's only 79. She's young.
Maybe she get her, court to change her.
Get her butt lift.
Get her, change her
age. That's right, there we go.
But, so if she says, this is my last term as Speaker, 2 years, that gives the Democrats an opportunity to start cultivating a replacement.
Right.
It avoids the internal schisms and conflicts that can take up time and energy.
Schisms too.
Schisms as well. And which the Democrats have so much on their plate.
Matt, they need to have a leader. They do at this
point.
point.
They do. And we don't want to see, I'm okay for, a little push and shove and test, the process to make sure it's coming out, fair and transparent. But, we don't want to waste a lot of time battling this 6 months down the road.
No. So let's just
and get people organized for the subpoena and all the crooks that
let's have this
have been getting away with murder.
Yeah, exactly. So let's have the scenario. Nancy Pelosi is the new speaker.
Yeah.
She is pushed to the left, or they keep her feet to the fire to make sure that she keeps to the left, which is what they all pretty much want to do, as I understand it. And she does this agenda, and then after 2 years, she has trained several people to take over, and they have a vote, and they replace her with somebody younger.
And hopefully it's not Steny Hoyer. Steny Hoyer is
nice guy from Maryland, but
also he was the guy that was twisting the arm of in the primaries in Colorado. The more liberal candidate. He's going, we want you to drop out before the primaries.
That's
right.
Hey,
because that's the BS that makes everybody hate.
They want a win. They don't care about the position.
And they're so often wrong on the horse they back.
That's right. So
that's the big problem.
Ocasio-Cortez is also just like a harbinger, I think, of things to come. And she's people are going crazy about her and against her, which means that she must be doing something good.
Yeah. And then it was the Hawaiian representative who tweeted.
Not Hirono, but the other one. Not Mazie Hirono, but the other. It's the guy, right?
No, I think it was Hirono.
Oh, Mazie Hirono.
So when Trump came out and said that, he was standing by the Saudi Arabians, she tweeted and said, being the Saudis, BS.
Whoa.
Does not make America
Female
great
dog.
again.
Yes. Good. Good.
Like, poke him in the eye.
So, Matt, it seems like Nancy Pelosi is a small problem that hopefully will take care of itself.
It could be a big problem if people, if she decides not to be transitional she wants to hang on to the reins of power.
Or she's lying and she doesn't do what she's promised.
Yeah, well, but she's gotten where she is. She is a prodigious fundraiser, but that means she's taking money from huge corporate interests,
that's
right?
So that's
tainted,
right? Sure.
But if she does say, okay, I'll be transitional, we can train some people, I'm hoping that, her democratic, progressive San Francisco values will assert themselves at this point.
It seems like so far they pretty much have, right?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, she's playing the game well, which
so we don't really know.
Consummate.
She is a politician, so we don't know how much is really true or not.
And then, who would be a good speaker at this
they don't
point,
have anyone. That's the thing of the people challenging her. They have no one to replace her. So they vote against her, but it's going to be chaos because there's no one who's stepping forward. forward.
Well,
yet.
I think there's actually,
except for Steny Hoyer.
There's quite a few actual potential people, but we'll have to watch and see how things develop.
I'm just excited, and I want all four wheels to be going in the same direction when they start.
And this brings up the whole issue of Dianne Feinstein, who's even older than Nancy Pelosi.
She's about 200 years old.
I know, and she really needs a court to ratchet her years back.
That's right, she does.
But I'm hoping that now that she's been reelected to the Senate, 6-year term,
it's a long time.
That she will now in a year or two say, okay, I'm stepping down and let Gavin Newsom appoint her replacement.
Wouldn't that be interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Gavin, I think, will do a good job.
He might appoint you.
I think I'll refuse if he does that. I like.
Should I take it if he offers it to me?
No, Matt, because that'll jeopardize 2 Mooks and a mic.
Oh, that's right. I'd be in
that.
D.C. I couldn't do that. Yeah.
So, Matt, do you know that Harvard scientists have speculated that a mysterious cigar-shaped rock that was spotted tumbling through our solar system may be a probe sent by an alien civilization?
An alien probe?
Yeah,
I don't like the sound of that.
It's nicknamed forgive my mispronunciation of this, the Oumuamua, that's not right. Oumuamua, which means a messenger that reaches from the distant past in Hawaiian. The object was first spotted a year ago, and its trajectory indicated it came from outside the solar system. Astronomers were intrigued by its unusual shape. It's kind of cigar-shaped. It's 1,300 feet long by 130 feet wide.
And for our listeners who can't see the photo, it looks like a big, giant, crumply old spliff. It is not aerodynamic.
And spliff, not splint. No, it's not. But you don't need aerodynamic in space.
It's true.
You can't hear you scream either.
But have these aliens have no sense of style?
They were intrigued when Oumuamua accelerated after passing the sun.
Oh, now that's interesting.
That's weird, huh?
Yeah.
This could have been because the rock was expelling debris, much like a comet, but the researchers saw no visual evidence of a tail. So they think the exotic scenario put forth by the Harvard team, Oumuamua, may in fact be a fully operational alien probe made from a strong, thin material that acts as a giant sail blown by solar radiation.
Yeah,
they don't know for sure because it looks like a rock, but it could be super, super thin, which would be the sail. And maybe the sail ripped off from a ship. Who knows? Or maybe it's just a rock.
Well, it doesn't look like it has sails according to that photo.
No, maybe the thing is a sail.
I see. Yeah.
Maybe it's like if you cut the sail off a
but
halyard.
The fact that it accelerated after it passed the sun.
That's the weird thing. That's perplexing scientists. Yeah. But we'll never know because it's gone.
Well, I mean, they do these orbits where they loop around planets, and as they swing around, they pick up speed from, being pulled into the gravitational field and then escaping it.
That's exactly right.
So it wouldn't be that, though.
No,
they would have said that.
They would have seen like a debris, a tail coming out of it. No tail.
Yeah,
it just went straight past. Yeah, weird.
Yeah,
huh?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we did have Thanksgiving yesterday, and we did not serve romaine lettuce to anybody.
Yeah, you're supposed to throw all that stuff out, right?
Yeah, exactly. So,
well, that's because they haven't figured out where the E. coli source is.
That's right, and that's this is corporate America, where people grow lettuce all over the place.
Let us alone.
Yeah, and let us amuse you, and
let
then
us alone without any dressing. That's a honeymoon salad. Let us amuse you with no dressing. Oh, God. It would be amusing too, I think.
But they grow them in various areas and send them to these centralized packing stations, or facilities, and then they don't track it. But how hard is it to do? And have they ever heard of Excel spreadsheets?
Or stamping something on the lettuce?
And I think partly this is their way of just avoiding. Well, they don't want the extra little trouble that it goes to. That'll cost them money.
Or they don't like romaine. They want butter lettuce.
Or they don't want to be held accountable. But when that happens, then the CDC is saying throw away all romaine lettuce. Well, how does the industry feel about that?
Right.
And say, hello, you guys, you need to have some transparency here, or you're all going to pay the price.
Wait till the Democrats get in charge. Damn. Matt, can't we go to the local farms around Petaluma and buy romaine lettuce? Do you have to
you
throw
probably
that
could. I don't think you would have to, but
you go first.
Is Green String open?
Yeah, Green String's still there.
I haven't been there in a while, but
I've been past it.
Yeah.
I have a big PG&E building there. They're doing some construction there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but the sign's still up.
Power station there, yeah.
Despite the blue wave, Matt, it says there was only 49% turnout. It's pathetic, it said, for our last election. Whoa, hello, that was a little bit of music there. Democracies with high rates of participation automatically register all citizens to vote. In the U.S., more than 50 million of our citizens, about 1 in 4, haven't registered and weren't eligible to cast ballots on Election Day. Not so good. So maybe that'll change. Who knows?
Yeah.
People get more excited about what's happening currently. They need to make some connection to their own personal lives, I think, don't you?
Yeah. Well, Jim, when people tell you to stand up straight, do you like to straighten your shoulders, pat down your hair, and suck in your gut?
I try to. In my gut, especially.
Well, so the Leaning Tower of Pisa is doing the same thing.
The pizza. Really? What do you mean? It's straightening its shoulders?
It is. It's not leaning so much anymore.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, it's like been a close call, but apparently, it was they started building it like 1170, and it took 200 years to build it.
That's
and immediately
brick
it started
by brick.
to sink and
I remember it sinking.
Yeah.
And I remember they were injecting, I think, the base with concrete.
And they've got like hundreds of sensors, to track, anything that any movement,
good
temperature, etc. But it turns out that about 20 years ago they started doing this work, and it seems to be helping a lot.
How does it straighten it up? I don't get it.
Well, I'm not sure because the article didn't say, but it's like they hired that guru that wants to change his age, and he got some crystals.
He got straighter.
Yeah.
Well, it's better than having it be lying on the ground sideways. Then it'd be really hard to walk along.
As soon as it started to be built and started to tilt back in the 12, 1300s,
almost instantly, right?
Everybody said, "Oh, this is an architectural failure." But then everybody started to come see it, and they
because
get
it's
like
an anomaly.
800,000 people a year to come visit,
like Oumuamua.
Like Oumuamua, except you can't go see it.
No, and it doesn't have a tail.
Yeah, that's right, and it never landed. So who knows if you've even made up that
could
story.
Be their own Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Well, it could be if
they
played it right, but
they didn't.
But I don't think it's going to come up to this snuff. But when they closed it in 1990, because they were afraid of that, and then worked on it, and they reopened it 11 years later. But keep the crowds down to about half that. Yeah. But back then they were able to reduce the tilt by almost 16 inches.
Holy cow!
Yeah, and subsequently now they've just been watching it. So whatever they did has caused it to come back another inch and a half.
That's great.
Vertical.
That's really good. So, well, maybe the Earth is tilting more, and that's what's making it appear to be straighter.
Or maybe it's like leaning into the direction the Earth is spinning. I don't know.
Maybe it's like into the headwind.
The headwinds are pushing it
I
back
think
up,
that's
Jim.
a good theory.
We're really strong on science on this show.
We really are. We believe in it. We just don't understand it.
Yeah. They don't want it to get too straight because then people will stop coming to see it.
I think that's true. I wouldn't want to.
And in fact, it's no longer the leaningest world attraction.
What is?
Towers in Switzerland and Germany are now contending for that title.
Oh, how about that?
How about that?
So I know you're a big football fan, Matt, and we're getting close to the end, aren't we? I'll say this real fast. Chicago Bears kicker, his name is Cody Parker. He blamed God for the fact that he missed 2 field goals and 2 extra points during this week's game. My Lord and Savior Jesus Christ makes no mistakes, he said. For whatever reason, that was the day I was supposed to have. Wow. I think I'm just going to blame everything on God.
On Jesus, yeah.
Like Jesus gave me the parking spot.
Well, did you read about the guy that went to the island that is off of India, like 700 miles off of India? That it's a race of people that live there, and they're hostile to anybody coming. And he wanted to try to bring Christianity.
He had a Bible with him.
That's right, and they shot him full of arrows.
Yes, killed him dead. And this is not the first time this has happened.
No, and people have been. They're a protected, island and peoples because they're unpolluted by modern mankind, and I think they're very smart.
I do too. India protects them. They're arresting all the boat drivers who took him out there for
try to sneak him in the night.
Well, yeah, but they're also charging them with what was it when somebody aids in a homicide?
Yeah, abetting.
Aiding and abetting in a homicide.
Yeah.
So, that's good. Yeah, and there's a big debate about whether they should contact these people and give them all the benefits of our technology.
Yeah, which is stupid and ridiculous.
Or not.
I mean, so they've been living there for eons and eons, and, they seem to have got balanced on they can feed themselves. And it's not a huge number. It's like maybe 100 people or something.
Pigs.
It's an island the size of Manhattan.
Yeah, and they had another group come in at one point many years ago. They grab people from another island and put them onto this island, and the two people could not understand each other.
Yeah, and totally anthropologists, and they've tried to make contact, but you know what? Leave those poor devils alone.
Devils? They're not devils. They're
poor people.
And the family of the kid who was killed, they're very religious and very Christian, and they said, we forgive these people.
Yeah, it would take consolation that he was trying to bring the word.
I hope they don't press charges.
Really, and they're not. I don't think they're gonna. But
I hope
anyway,
not.
that's it for Two Mooks and a Mic. Jim, I think we made it through most of another hour.
Time to go eat again, man. I'm starving.
Let's eat some turkey, folks. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, see you in a week, everybody.
We'll
listen to you.
Have a good week.
Yeah, look for us on YouTube.
That's right.
How do we find it?
Search for Two Mooks and a Mic on YouTube.
Okay, and you'll see some stuff.
All right, folks.
All right, everybody.
Till next week. Thanks,
Till
Jim.
next week. Bye. Thanks, Matt.
Bye.
All right, bye.